Hey Matt, how's it going?
Good, buddy. What you up to this morning?
Hey, nothing much, just another day in paradise. Got a few edits on the table. Um, I love when that happens. My favorite days of work are just when you get to edit.
Nice.
Yeah. Where are you at? You're in Charlotte, correct?
That's right, Charlotte, man. Charlotte, North Carolina, Queen City.
Nice. I know you're getting pretty connected with the community there. How do you like it?
I like it a lot. Charlotte was a hard cup of tea for me about 5 years ago when we got here. But now that I found the local art scene and the local film community, man, I feel a lot more at home.
Awesome. The Charlotte 48 Hour Film Festival was just recent, wasn't it?
Hasn't happened yet, actually. We have three more seminars left. Thursday this week, Tuesday next week, Thursday the following week, and then the launch is actually August 11th is filming weekend. So 11th through the 13th is filming weekend.
Okay, cool. How's it looking in terms of teams and everything like that? I'm sure you're getting stuff together.
Man, so I hope that we can do what we did last year and have 20, 25 teams come out and put some good work on the table. And last year, I think 27 teams, 23 completed films, and man, 15 of them were pretty damn good.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So, for people listening that may not know what the 48 Hour Film Festival is, can you kind of explain it a little bit?
Sure. So the 48-hour film project is technically what it's called.
Right.
It is an international um, platform. However, it is done in local communities across the world. I believe in the United States, oh, I'm going to say this wrong. I think there's over 50 states that participate or cities that participate. Charlotte is in its 10th year, hosted by William Fisher. And that's kind of how I came to film. But what the 48 is basically you get a team together. You can't write, you can't do anything pre-production wise other than get your team together, maybe scout some locations and know what your equipment's going to look like. But on launch day, we do a countdown. You draw out of a hat, basically, like what order you will draw genres. And then you draw from about 30 genres. You get to draw two from Group A and Group B. You can use either for your film, but you have to use one at least. Then they give you a line of dialogue, a character, and a prop that has to be written into the script. Once you receive those materials, you are free to go about the city and try to literally write, uh, produce, film, edit a screenable film within 48 hours. So it's a shotgun hell ride. That's a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Yeah, I've done a few now myself, and I still keep in touch with every single person that I've worked with on those because you're in such a fast-paced uh, environment. It's everybody kind of just like it's kind of like going to summer camp for a weekend. You get to know everybody and you work so closely with everybody, but you all have to be a solid team to get entire short done in just a matter of a few days. But I had a ton of fun doing it.
I love that our connection, or one of our connections, is through Brian Wright,
Yeah.
who in 2019, I believe you participated with him and Brian Holt, if I'm not mistaken, in a 48 here in Charlotte. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he has been my film mentor for about the last 3 years. So about the time that you made a 48 is about the time that he introduced me to the 48 with Will Fisher. Um, and I was like behind the scenes that year, like bringing in beer and like charcuterie for everybody to eat during the seminars, and kind of like was like, what is going on here? This is cool. And then a year later, um, my business partner in film up here in Charlotte, Adano De Veros, um, we were out on a night on the town for his birthday, and I said, "What do you want for your birthday, buddy?" And he said, "I want to make a film. I want to do a 48." And I said, "Well, what do you want to do in the 48?" He said, "I want to direct." And neither one of us had ever even picked up a camera. Had no clue what it meant to make a film. So we signed up right there and then. I produced. He directed, and we had 25 cast and crew, and we drew film to film and telenovela. So for your first film to draw those two genres was one hell of a ride.
I bet that I don't know if I've seen that one. How did it turn out?
We thought our baby was very beautiful. It was not, but it was an experience.
Well, it's hard to make anything crazy substantial in a matter of 3 days, but I've seen some pretty fun ones that come out of those. So,
I will say, so because we had never made a film, our mentor told us you might want to try making a practice film a couple weeks before with the 48 construct before you have to make a 48. And so over 3 weekends, we broke up the time construct and did our own 48 practice with three camera guys who had never rolled in cinema. They had been still photographers. I acted in our first practice film, and it was a Western where I get stabbed by a pitchfork that technically came from the King of Constantinople during like the meeting of King James, like rewriting the Bible. But it was, I think, our best work yet.
nice. So you act too. You do it all. What would you uh, tell people that you do in film?
First and foremost, at the current moment, I am a producer. An upper production manager is probably the most important role that I perform right now.
Awesome. Yeah, we always need more of those. So, um, talk about kind of your experience, what you've been able to do, what you love about it so much.
And so let's go into my background. So I'm ex-military. I spent a little bit of time on a nuclear submarine, sleeping between ICBMs and helping run a nuclear reactor when I
Wow.
was 18 to 22 years old. So the military kind of gets you prepared for things like a 48 and for things like film, where you have just a lot of people, a lot of moving parts, and you all need to coordinate and understand a little bit of the hierarchy that goes on a film set and with the production crew. But also, you need to all perform any job that's necessary to get the job done. So that was early in my career. When I got out of the military, I started my first business as a renovation contractor. And I pretty much for the last 17 years before I got into film professionally 7 months ago, I did historic renovations in kitchens and bathrooms for the most of my life. What correlates from film, from being a contractor, and especially someone who has to put a team together and take a blank slate or take something that's damaged, pull it apart, put it back together, and make sure you have all the materials, all the people, the money, and then a sales and marketing plan, right? How are we getting paid for this? How is my client going to make money off of us tearing their house apart and putting it back together? Correlates so easily into being a production manager in film. It is literally the same boxes. The spreadsheets that I built for the last 17 years, I just have been able to move over to every film project that I have. And other than the contracts changing, the types of contracts, it's it's almost a mirrored business.
Wow. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective and way to put it. How would you say the projects that you've been a production manager on, um, your kind of methodology, like how you go about getting a project done? Are you more of like looking at the big picture from start to finish, or?
Always, and that is the most important job as the upper production manager, and any kind of executive level producer. You kind of go into most film where there's a screenplay and an idea, or a book, or a poem or something like that. Depending on what where the medium starts, and then it goes, okay, well, how can this be translated into this medium, which is film? And then you have to start, before you even start building your team, take your spreadsheets, start putting things together for everyone so that as you bring in a team, you can check the box. And so just about every single spreadsheet that I have, there's someone I need or two people I need to fill every role. And so when you start doing that, those people start telling you what they need to be successful to make the project happen.
Hmm.
And so the most important role in that is to make sure that you are taking care of everything your people need so that they can focus on their very specific task. And if you can do that well, I will tell you, you can make good film, and you can learn every time and make better film every single time. And you can do it with a different team every time, which is kind of what we've done. We keep a few core people around, but we're new to this, so we like to learn who has the skill sets in our industry, in our area, and try to put them in the best position possible, and then also network everybody so that they can all work together, and transform a screenplay all the way to an edit, which is 4 different films. Which is, I think, a really cool way to go about things. But I will say every single cast and crew we've had, including the 8-minute single take or long take that we did this weekend, has always told myself and my partner that this is the best film set and well-oiled machine I've ever been on. Where the hell did you guys crawl out of that?
That's funny. Um, how would you describe the Charlotte community and kind of what type of work goes on there? Because I would say it's very much a commercial hub, but I know you yourself said you kind of stray away from the commercial side of video. You really like the set aspect of film itself, narrative projects, right?
That's correct. And so I'm kind of lucky because of my history and the business that I ran before I became a film producer. That if I run out of cash, I can take on, contracting in the form of renovation work, right? So I don't have to take commercial work because there's another stream of revenue for me. Whereas in Charlotte, independent film is almost always a hobby. And you try to get some people together and nobody wants to give you any money for it. And so you're up against the wall because there's so much corporate structure here and so many corporations that, I mean, it's hard to turn down $800 a day to be a makeup artist or to be a DP. And those are there every single day of the week. I mean, there's just unlimited opportunity in the commercial space here.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
but
definitely.
I don't do it. I stick to independent film because I need to be singularly focused in order to, enjoy this passion and really run this business as a film producer, not a videography company.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, there's all different avenues to go down in this industry. Um, I've talked about this a little bit before, but I never expected to kind of like end up in the path that I've even ended up in. But I'm kind of thankful for that because it switches it up. It makes it interesting. You find what your strengths are, what you prefer to do, and what makes you happier at the end of the day.
And that's why I'm sticking to independent film because it makes me extremely happy. I mean, I get up in the morning with a purpose every single day, and up until 7 months ago, that was not the case. I think for about 4 years of my life, I was very static, and just not really finding joy in my work.
Yeah, that's actually a super interesting idea that I'd love to talk about more, like the amount of passion and drive you have to make it with what we do. And when I say make it, not even be widely successful or well known, but just be able to do it in your life where you don't have other things crashing down on you or taking away from your time or money or whatever it may be, even if it's just your hobby. That to me is like success if you can find the time to do it and the drive and put out a project, make it happen. I mean, it is not easy, right?
It's not, and the story I hear a lot from a lot of the local filmmakers here. Again, they're doing mainly commercial work, right? So they got to pay their grocery bill, they got to pay their light bill. Um, you know, we're still batting 100 on completed productions. which I've never heard anybody say before. And that is in itself, you have to have that drive. And I think you have to find joy in it to be able to stick it through to the end every single time without putting it in post and then having to come back to it a year or two later because you just don't have the time or can't afford to put the time in.
Yeah, definitely. There's always a million ideas out there, but whether or not you're the one to grab it and make it happen is a totally different story. I've heard a million different stories about people who start projects and then they never get done, and they move on to the next idea and they move on to the next idea. But what I feel like I've learned is it's really about those of us who actually finish what they started, right? And get the content out there and are still passionate by the time that they hit export as when they wrote the first word. So
Question for you, because you've done this more than I have, but so you get to hitting export. How many times in your career have you gone back 6 months, a year later, even after a finished production, and started re-editing?
Oh,
dude, every single time.
Oh, yeah, that's especially the editors. Even our first like practice film, that we did 3.5 years ago or whatever it was. Somebody's re-editing it right now again, which I love. That our original editor's like, "Hey Matt, can I have those files back? Can I play with that some more?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Good luck getting the cicadas out of all that really bad audio we got."
yeah.
It's funny because even if it's not re-releasable, I will still do that just to practice from time to time, to use existing built project files to like mess with this new crazy idea that I have or saw on TikTok somewhere, something like that. I'll go back. Yeah, yeah. I have backups and backups and drives and drives and drives of every project file since I started, really. Um, and I love going back and watching some of those old videos. I mean, it gives me so much nostalgia, and it brings back so many memories from when I was even making it and those people that I were there making it with, that I otherwise wouldn't have if that video didn't exist. And to me, that is one of the big things of why I like doing this, is it just captures such a specific moment in time. And then even those behind the scenes moments that I can have for myself mean a lot, you know?
That's the community building, and I know that is also a commonality between the two of us. Is not only do you get to make film and be a storyteller and put something out to an audience to enjoy, and I know for myself, I don't take on projects that I don't have some moral agreement with, and it doesn't give me some purpose, or I don't think it's giving someone else some enlightenment or something to think about after viewing. But the community that has to come together in order to pull it off, all the people that it really takes to pull it off. Now, I know some people do it with one, two, three people, and they're quite good at it. But for me, it is about having, man, I almost want more people than anybody ever imagines. I mean, I want to check the boxes 3 times and have a backup for a backup for a backup. And if I don't need the backup, I want them on site as PAs, so that everyone's job is just that much easier, and the community can come together and get to know each other and create together. And so, that is a big part of this for me. And I think that was what my brother-in-law intended, Will Fisher, with his 40, with the 48 here in Charlotte, was, be a steward of your community, give back for what you have, feel glad for what you have, and give back and lead people. And if you don't like how something's going, well, then take the initiative to start your own, do your own, and bring in the people that you want and make the product that you want to show the world.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I feel like it goes for every single city outside of the central hubs for filmmaking and production. Any city that you're in, if you want to make it happen, those communities automatically are going to be considered extremely small. So networking, connecting with them, getting people involved, no matter what their experience is very, very important to just like foster, like you were saying, a sense of community. And if you're not doing that, then really you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So I couldn't agree more, which is why when I met you at one of the networking events here in town, I immediately was drawn to the way you were talking about film and some of the same things that you just mentioned. It just showed me that you're as passionate as you can be. And so recently you and I have been figuring out what else we can do to like give back, get people involved. So I just briefly wanted to mention the next upcoming event that we have, August 11th, here in Charleston, screening movies. It's a movie night at Arctic 2 at the Citadel Mall. And we're going to be screening people's films, having a little Q&A session afterwards, a little networking mixer as well, all wrapped into one. It'll be, I think, a good time for people to share their work, show it off, and just get connected, right?
Great, man. Let me ask you, how many submissions have we had since we launched the marketing material?
Yeah, so we launched it about a week ago, so not too long, but we've had over 10 different projects submit so far, which is a good number. That's better than I would have expected. Yeah, we unfortunately won't be able to screen all of them, but I think in the future that we definitely can, just keep them on rotation. We're hoping to continue doing this every single month. So, yeah, it'll be a good time. Is there anything you wanted to say about the event?
Yeah, and all of the Charleston networking events and how I met you. I'd like to speak to that. So again, Brian Wright had worked with you on a 48. I'm from Charleston, but I'm in Charlotte now permanently. But Charleston is my home and my heart. And I never knew about film or a film community in Charleston. It never processed in my mind to even participate if there even was a networking event. But I've never heard of one happening in Charleston in my whole life. And I get around a lot. So what really drew me to back to Charleston to get involved in film was watching your posts and watching you at 23 years old at the time try to build a network and a community and a reason to come together and talk about film and find out who is in your neighborhood who also shares your passion and has skill sets and equipment and the other things that it takes to get it done. And so, I think I got down for the second event. And man, I mean, I didn't need to be in Charleston that weekend at all. It's great to see my mom, but I needed to come meet you and see what you guys were up to and see how I could help my home and where my heart is grow. And that meant a lot to me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it, but like honestly, really no thanks needed. I would do it even if it was just one other person that was there that I could talk to for an hour and see how we could, just grow. I mean, the goal is for it to keep growing, and I think so far we've been successful in that. I mean, the different types of filmmakers that have come out, or even actors or stunt women, it's been insane, the different variety and interest. So who knows, maybe one day the bridge all the way between Charlotte and Charleston will just be one big community and we can just all make what we want. Yeah, no, seriously. Well, is there anything coming up that you want to promote? Anything you want to get out there, or
Man, so the 48, okay, let's just real quick. The 48 goes on in so many cities for the viewers out there. Please look and see if there's one in your local community. If there's not, find the nearest one. The people who host these things in these different cities are building their networks. You know, it's a really great place to build networks. And I have my participation in that has noticed that, I mean, we get people in Charlotte from Greensboro, from Myrtle Beach, from Charleston, from Atlanta, man, Savannah, Georgia. I mean, I've seen people from all over the Southeast, and even one guy from Morocco came out because he has a filmmaker friend here and acted in a 48 with us, which is
Wow.
just that's wild to think. Like he just got on a plane and flew out for a week so he could participate in this event. And I bet there's one in Morocco somewhere. It's a pretty sizable country in the Mediterranean. So I bet there's a 48, but he came here, for a friend to support the local film community. But it's a really good construct, and if you don't know where your network is, man, shoot me or you a line. I've been networking from Central Florida to Virginia Beach for the last 7 months. And don't ask me why. I know that's probably a wider net than I need to cast, to stay focused. But I need to know who's in the game in our area, uh, because we need all the resources we can get. Because, like you said, it's so small, niche little communities that can do this. So if I can get all those niche communities connected, I feel like we have a better chance at survival.
absolutely? I couldn't have said it better myself. Well, I think in the coming months we'll only continue to grow that, and I honestly can't wait to see what it'll look like even in a year. You know, so
Entrepreneurial Center, over off of Johnny Dodds. I can't remember the exact address right now, but if you're in Charleston or in any surrounding state, I mean, if you're touching South Carolina and you're an entrepreneur and you've got a business plan and you don't Google the HEC, the Harbor Entrepreneurial Center, you're doing yourself a disadvantage. Patrick Bryant, Sean Moffett, and Grady Johnson they've just opened up the largest incubator I've ever seen. I mean, the thing's 15, 20,000 square foot. The building is immaculate and huge, but they are trying to help entrepreneurs and people who have passion succeed in a very real way. And the guys that run that have been great mentors in my life and supported me always. And on August 2nd, they are opening their new facility and asking entrepreneurs to come and network.
yeah, that's awesome. You and I went briefly the other week, and that place is so beautiful, first of all, but also huge. And there's just so many different spaces for different people to kind of like even build a mini community within that building, you know?
They've been doing it. I mean, I got my first email about the HEC probably 10 years ago. I don't even remember. And their facility, was across the street, across 17 on the other side of, the Sweetgrass Basket Highway, in Mount Pleasant. But dude, they've been lifting entrepreneurs up all over Charleston for a very long time, man. They put in the work, and then they find the people who are willing to put in the work. And man, every business that's come through there is a success. They're probably batting 100 too.
That's awesome. Well, Matt, I really appreciate you doing this. It's great to talk to you as always, and I can't wait to see you again at the next movie night screening, if not before then. Great.